work and sell these homes at really affordable prices that people can pay for. I mean, their main goal right now is to improve the people's lives who are living there right now and to stop people from leaving. That is still a problem there.
There was some hope, a decade ago of getting part of the Youngstown diaspora, I guess we could call it, back to Youngstown to attract some of the brain drain back in the other direction. Any luck with that?
You're not seeing an influx of people, but one of the things that surprised me was that the work that was being done by, a generation of residents who did have the chance to leave. Many of them were college educated, and they were choosing to stay and do this work. And I was really intrigued by that, just personally as a filmmaker. I'm the daughter of immigrants. And I don't have that same connection to home that they did. And so one of the reasons why I was drawn to making this film was to kind of see what that looks like and feels like and look at the reasons why people choose to stay when they have the choice to leave.
Carla Murthy is director of a new documentary called The Place That Makes Us. It's on America Reframed on World Channel and streams on all the PBS platforms. Carla, thanks.
Thank you.
For a time, Youngstown embraced a kind of Rust Belt chic, but Carla's film shows the term Rust Belt annoys some residents now. Our producers are Meredith Garrettson, Stephen Ryan, Daniel Shin, and Erica Soderstrom. I'm David Brancaccio with the Marketplace Morning Report from APM, American Public Media.
FPL, always planning, preparing, and investing in clean and reliable energy to give the next generation an energy future Florida can depend on. Details are at fpl.com/value.
Wayne Hogan of the Terrell Hogan Law Firm. I'm Wayne Hogan. A company's cell phone policy can protect your employees and your bottom line. Our distracted driving presentation for the workforce can help. Learn more at waynehogan.law.
Baptist Health knows managing your health is still important during COVID-19. Secure online appointments are now available through our Health Place On Demand app 24/7 with trusted board-certified ER and family physicians. More at baptisthealthplace.com.
This is WJCT News 89.9 Jacksonville. Ahead in the next 5 minutes, live local news for the First Coast from the WJCT News team.
What's the best plan for the banks of the St. Johns River? I'm Melissa Ross, and just ahead this hour on First Coast Connect, the city may spend millions activating its downtown riverfront. We'll tell you how the Jesse Ball DuPont Fund is developing its own activation plan for this effort. Then later.
April is National Donate Life Month. It's a month to celebrate those who have received transplant.
Why you should become an organ donor. Plus, a conversation with the city's new Arts and Culture Director, Diana Donovan. That and more, just ahead. After the day's news.
Live from NPR News, I'm Corva Coleman. The trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin resumes this morning. He's charged in the killing of George Floyd. NPR's Giles Snyder reports on Monday jurors heard from the Minneapolis police chief.
Minneapolis Police Chief Madeira Arredondo told the jury that despite defense claims that George Floyd died from a combination of a heart condition, drug use, and adrenaline, he felt the use of force Derek Chauvin used was excessive.
When I look at the facial expression of Mr. Floyd, that does not appear in any way, shape, or form that is light to moderate pressure.
Arredondo said Chauvin violated department policy when he pinned Floyd's neck beneath his knee and kept him there after he had stopped resisting. Arredondo did acknowledge, though, that neck restraints and chokeholds were allowable at the time Floyd died. Arredondo fired Chauvin and 3 other officers after Floyd's death. Giles Snyder, NPR News.
President Biden will visit a mass vaccination site in Virginia today. He'll then give remarks at the White House about the nation's progress with COVID-19 vaccinations. White House medical advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci says he thinks the millions of people getting vaccinated each day may help stop a new surge of the pandemic in the U.S.
As long as we keep vaccinating people efficiently and effectively, I don't think that's going to happen. That doesn't mean that we're not going to still seeing increases in cases. Whether it explodes into a real surge or not remains to be seen. I think that the vaccine is going to prevent that from happening.
He spoke to MSNBC. Officials from the countries that signed the Iran nuclear accord in 2015 are meeting today in Austria. The U.S. is not at the official meeting because it withdrew in 2018. Iran says there won't be any face-to-face meetings with American officials while U.S. sanctions are still in effect. The Biden administration wants to rejoin the Iran nuclear accord, but says Iran must first come back into compliance with its terms. North Korea says that it won't be sending athletes to this year's Summer Olympic Games in Japan. That's because of concerns about the coronavirus pandemic. NPR's Anthony Kuhn has more from Seoul.
A government sports website said that North Korea's National Olympic Committee had decided on March 25th to skip the event. The decision is a setback for South Korea, which was hoping that the Games could lead to diplomatic engagement with the North, just as the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Games paved the way for 2 U.S.-North Korea summits. North Korea has taken extraordinary measures to prevent the virus's spread, closing its borders and limiting domestic travel. In Japan, COVID cases are on the rise, and experts are warning of a 4th wave of infections. The Olympic torch relay is in progress, but will skip the city of Osaka, where case numbers are rising. Anthony Kuhn, NPR News, Seoul.
You're listening to NPR News.
And you're listening on WJCT News 89.9 Jacksonville. Good morning, I'm Brendan Rivers. Some Florida lawmakers are hoping there's still time to pass a bill that would expand the state's marijuana rules to include adult recreational use. St. Petersburg Republican Senator Jeff Brandes is sponsoring the measure in his chamber.
We've looked around the country. We've tried to take the best practices of those other states. We've worked with some of the national groups that work on marijuana policy for the states and try to come up with a piece of legislation that is reasonable and rational. And tries to think through many of the challenges that kind of going into this green field of policy creates.
House sponsor Carlos Guillermo Smith encouraged advocates to push their lawmakers to hear the proposals. Florida's legislature is also on the verge of requiring K-12 public schools across the state to set aside 1 to 2 minutes of silence every morning. Under the proposal, teachers would not be able to tell students what to do with that time. Instead, they should encourage parents to provide some guidance. The House passed HB 529 last month, and a similar bill is now making its way through the Senate. It's about 63 degrees and mostly clear right now in Jacksonville. Sunny with a high near 82 this afternoon. Tonight, clear with a low around 55. Conditions should be warm and clear tomorrow as well, with highs in the mid-80s and lows around 60. You're listening to WJCT News, 89.9 Jacksonville. It's about 9:06.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance, comparing car insurance rates from multiple insurers so shoppers can evaluate options in one place. Now that's Progressive. Comparisons available at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE.
A fresh new plan for Jacksonville's downtown waterfront. Good morning. We're live from Studio 5. I'm Melissa Ross, and this is First Coast Connect. Thanks for listening. Just ahead, we'll tell you how the Jesse Ball DuPont Fund is adding its voice to plans to activate the banks of the St. Johns River. Give us a call now with your ideas about that. It's 549-2937. Then later, how you can become an organ donor. It's National Donate Life Month. Plus, a conversation with Diana Donovan, the new Arts and Culture Director for the city. First, though, the latest numbers for you on the pandemic. Coronavirus cases increased again by nearly 4,000 yesterday, so says the Florida Department of Health. Active hospitalizations ticked up, so did deaths by a few dozen. At the same time, 6.3 million Florida residents have received at least one dose of a vaccine. There are multiple vaccination sites all over town, and anyone 18 and older is eligible. In some cases, people 16 and older. So please go get your vaccine. Well, recently, advisors to Jacksonville Mayor Lenny Curry recommended spending millions to activate the banks of the St. Johns River. The Jesse Ball DuPont Fund is lending its expertise to this effort. They're going to convene a series of conversations about how best to develop the downtown waterfront for the benefit of everyone. They are, in fact, developing an activation plan that will include programming. It's focused on culture, leisure, sports, mental and physical health. Let's hear about this right now as we welcome Mari Qureshi, CEO of the Jesse Ball DuPont Fund. Mari, good morning.
Good morning, Melissa.
Good to have you. Also on the line, Claudia Harazme Alfonso, the Managing Deputy Commissioner with the Chicago Department of Planning and Development. Hey, Claudia.
Hi, good morning.
Good to have you both. And as we talk about activating the waterfront downtown, everybody, give us a call. What do you think is the best vision for this? How do you think city dollars should be spent on this? The number to join us, 549-2937. Emails to firstcoastconnect@wjct.org. Tweets to @MelissaInJax, and our Facebook page is open. Mari Qureshi, let's begin with you. Why is the Jesse Ball DuPont Fund getting involved in this community conversation about the riverfront?
So Jesse Ball DuPont loved the city of Jacksonville, and our assets are dedicated towards taking care of the places that Jesse loved, including Jacksonville. And we believe that public spaces in a community are so important to the identity, prosperity, and inclusiveness of that community. And the banks of the St. John River are, some of the most amazing potential for public spaces in the city of Jacksonville. So this just felt like something we really needed to help and facilitate, the best possible outcome for the city.
So you're working on an activation plan for the river, and you are collaborating with an agency called DVDL. They're cultural forecasters. Tell me more about this.
So DVDL specializes in working with cultural institutions, museums and the like, as well as with cities and institutions like us that are interested in combining the skills and the assets that cultural institutions bring with public spaces to create an experience for everyone in the community and to bring people together through design, through programming, and through placement. So we thought they were the perfect partner for us.
And you're involving the community. Groundwork Jacksonville is also involved in this. So this is something that's going to be going on through the spring and summer, right?
That's correct. We will be convening at least 3 task forces, but also engaging with the general public to get as much public input into what people would like to do and see and experience on the riverfront.
And let us know what you'd like to see and experience on the riverfront. Give us a call right now, 549-2937. Let's bring in Claudia Harazme Alfonso. Claudia, you're the Managing Deputy Commissioner at the Chicago Department of Planning and Development. Anyone who's been to Chicago or used to live in Chicago, like myself, knows about the incredible public spaces there and how they bring in tourism dollars, and how they build community. So tell us a little bit about your perspective on waterfront development work, which you've done not only in Chicago, I think, but also New York, and how we can do the same kind of thing here in Jacksonville.
That's right. I'm actually a newcomer to Chicago, so I've been here for about 5 months, and it's been a fantastic experience to discover everything that you mentioned in terms of the variety and wealth of public space in this city, which is really such a wonderful opportunity to connect with nature, and I think that in a way connect to each other, and with that sort of quiet side that we all have, and kind of like let creativity and wonderment sort of like fill us our souls. But yes, I had been in New York for the last 17 years in their planning department, and I actually had a lot to do with their waterfront access policy. Developing, in New York, there's a 25-year policy to open up the waterfront as development happens, besides a lot of public dollar investments in access to the waterfront as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so what's the most important lesson, I guess, you've learned from doing this in two major cities that the people here in Jacksonville, as they work on this process, they can apply? Because I think most people who've driven over a downtown bridge at some point or another have looked out at the beautiful waterfront and thought, why can't we develop this more? Why can't we have the kind of bustling waterfront vibe that so many other cities have?
Well, what I would say is that, if you think about it, most cities are waterfront cities, and there was a very practical aspect to it. And I think that as industries and other uses have left our waterfronts, we're all discovering what an opportunity it is to have other uses, and that we're very naturally drawn to nature and water, and that it is really about thinking through what is the type of connection of that space to the general life of the city, where are the adjacent communities versus sort of the larger city community, and what are the kind of activities that particular waterfront can fulfill. Here in Chicago, we have beaches, and we have more strolling parks or sports, and even water-oriented uses like boathouses and kayaking and all of that. So it's really about engaging with the community to understand what are some of the activities that would be attractive to the community, and to make sure that there is a sense of this is for us and by us. That's a very important part of developing any public asset.
Sure. Let us know your thoughts on waterfront activation in Jacksonville as we speak with the Just Sebald DuPont Fund and an expert up in Chicago, 549-2937. Give us a call. Mia is in Murray Hill. Hi, Mia.
Hey, good morning. Can you hear me all right?
Yep, go ahead.
Hi. So I'm really just kind of curious when I hear how could we come up with something that would benefit everybody? And my question is really who everybody is geared toward exactly. That's a very broad category.
Okay. The idea behind this, Mari Qureshi, is that public spaces bring everybody together, or they're intended to be as inclusive as possible. They need to be a free resource for residents. The idea is to get people gathering on the river, listening to music, eating, hanging out, getting these spaces more activated. That's the idea, anyway. Mari, are you there?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Absolutely. Well, as Claudia said, when people are naturally attracted to the river, the idea is that if we can find out from people what they desire to do at the river, and whether what it'll take to give them access to the river, and we need to think carefully about how people get there, whether there's ability for disabled people to access it, young children, safety. All of those dimensions are the dimensions that people will take into account when they take a decision whether to come down to the river. And when people start showing up and they have things to do, then there will be opportunities for, as you said, people want to eat, people want to be entertained. There will be opportunities for private development and public spaces to interact in a way to keep people at the river so that we eventually end up with this vibrant waterfront space that will benefit everybody.
And you're developing a plan, as you said, you're inviting the public to be part of public programs about this through the spring. You can go to dupontfund.org/waterfront to learn more about this. And at the end of the process, you'll present this to the powers that be at the city. Yes?
Yes, we will be creating a set of recommendations that can be a resource for the city and other interested groups as these conversations progress.
All right, let's go to some more calls on this. Let us know your thoughts about how best to activate the downtown riverfront. John is downtown. Hi, John.
Hello, Melissa, and thank you for taking my call. It sounds like finally it's going to get easier here.
For Claudia, who's on the line in Chicago, that's the city's slogan. It's easier here. Okay, go ahead, John. Just explaining to our out-of-town guests.
Thank you. Right. Well, yes. Well, here's the dilemma. I've been trying to access and activate and participate in our river for 20 plus years. And so my question is, even the recommendations that you will be bringing to the powers that be, when the public component is comprised and integrated into this, and ultimately a lot of these little nodes, if you will, are given to nonprofits. But in that, with the nonprofit, will the public have the access and 24/7? And the reason I just mentioned that is that surprisingly, you may see where the private, just the activation part of it will become welcoming. And then all of a sudden, maybe the nonprofits will learn from the public-private that, man, this is fun down here. And the last thing, too, ask when they come to visit, and remember, we've had all these different studies, Chan Krieger and Associates, but where can someone launch a kayak on Hogan's Creek right now today?
Yeah.
And maybe that may not be for her, but Groundwork Jacks. And
right.
Look forward to listening to your answers.
Thank you.
And thanks, Melissa.
Thank you, John. And, Claudia, that's long been a complaint in this city that we have all this waterfront, but very few public access points and just not enough public activation. So how can the folks here in Jacksonville really get over that hump? Because as long as I've lived here, which is practically 20 years now, I've been hearing that complaint since the day I arrived, that we have this incredible resource of this beautiful river flowing through downtown, and we are not doing a proper job of activating it and getting public access to it in enough places.
Right. Well, it sounds like it is getting easier and that you have people that are very interested in making that a reality. What I would say is that it definitely takes participation from every public agency and every and citizenship to really advocate for that vision. First, really come together with a vision and then advocating for it and finding the resources for that. What I would also say is that to the point about accessibility and that it feels that it is public for everyone, I think that it's important to also point out that there are design strategies to do that. And I think that access is certainly one of the most important ones, because it's how you kind of get to that threshold and you say, well, is this public or not, right? You make an intuitive decision about, do I go in because it feels welcoming and ample space for people to walk into or to get in through their car or things like that. And also creating visual connectors that allow you to perceive the water from the upland area is also very important, and it's a sense, in a way, it's a way of starting to develop that relationship even before you get to the actual space and feel that you're already in the water.
Lawrence in St. Johns County. Hi, Lawrence. Good morning.
Good morning.
Go ahead,
Good
Lawrence.
morning.
Go ahead.
I'm just wondering what the costs would be to build a world-class aquarium. My life, I remember enjoying the aquarium at the bottom of Manhattan when my father took me as a small boy. The Boston Aquarium, the Atlanta Aquarium. I can't imagine that isn't a big draw for tourists. Has anybody figured out what kind of costs are involved or what kind of return we can get?
Yeah.
Even if it was a negative return.
Thanks, Lawrence. You know, Mari Qureshi, several plans have been presented over the years to build a focal point like an aquarium on the waterfront. And if that's going to be part of this plan, can you share that with us? Or is it too early to say?
I'm afraid it's a little too early to say, but I can assure you that we are reviewing all the different plans that have been created in the past, and to make sure that, as John said earlier, the earlier caller, about public access, I think we are working with both Parks and Recreation and DIA and other parts of the city administration to ensure that there is indeed public access that is available to anybody, and to the extent that there are nonprofits, say museums and the like, that are on the waterfront, they will also have a very strong interest in ensuring that the public has access to all of the amazing things that the river has to offer.
All right. Lots of calls on this and from all over town. Marge in Orange Park. Hi, Marge.
Hi. I have an idea about what might bring tourism to Jacksonville waterfront. As comparison to Chicago, we have this grand Ferris wheel on Navy Pier.
Yeah.
When you're sitting on the top of that Ferris wheel, you can see clear over to the west side of Chicago where Cubs Park is, and you get an overview of the lake water. A Ferris wheel on your waterfront, I think, would be a grand addition.
Yeah, I love the Ferris wheel at Navy Pier too, Marge. Claudia, what about that? Do we need to think about an attraction that gets us up high and gives us a panoramic view? How important are those kinds of focal points to an overall plan?
Absolutely. I think that it is, and again, I'm not an expert in your city per se, but I think that having something that really truly brings everyone's kind of sense of awe and wonderment and pride in their city, whether it is having that unique view that Ferris wheels give you when you're on top, or just like an actual iconic object that people relate to as something that's fun and part of the city. It has proven to be definitely a very strong strategy to sort of create a placemaker for people and to bring people together. And so that's definitely.
And as we talk about placemaking and riverfront activation, lots of tweets. Sierra tweets the show. I would love to see at least one public park with pavilions and restrooms that the public can use for gatherings. Here's a tweet: just open a bunch of bars. It's what the people want. Andy tweets the show. He says, you need to treat this as at least 5 distinct hubs and figure out how to grow each and have them feed each other. Josh tweets the show. Should Jax strive to model itself after successful, iconic coastal cities like Savannah and Charleston, or is it time to admit that being so spread out poses unique challenges? So the city needs to forge its own path forward. Mari Qureshi, is the city too spread out to do the kind of waterfront activation plan that other cities in the Southeast have successfully already executed?
I don't know that the...
Sorry.
Go ahead, Mari, and then Claudia.
Oh, sure. I don't know that the city is too spread out. That's an empirical question. I think it is true that because we are spread out, we may need to employ different strategies than those employed by cities like Charleston and Savannah. But I do think that whether you are spread out or not, focal points are important. And I think downtown, if we are to have a focal point, is the place to start. So on the theory that we should start exploring at the most promising place, I think it makes sense for us to be undertaking this work.
Let's go to Mary in Nocatee. Hi, Mary. Good morning. Go ahead.
Hi. So in my opinion, I think because we are spread out like you're discussing, we need transportation, either a direct bus or rail transportation. So you can just hop on and get downtown, and then you can build anything you want, like going back to the landing, which we had, but nobody was going down there. I live down in St. Johns County, one of the top growing developments in the United States. Everybody's moving here from New York, New Jersey to work because we're open and they can be in Florida, but all those people coming here, we can't get downtown because we don't want to drive, 45 minutes and then find a place to park. So if you want to be like San Antonio with an awesome riverfront, which we have, just find a way to get us downtown and we will come. My grandparents are from San Marco, Riverside, and they tell me they took the bus to downtown to do all their banking, their shopping, their dining. They went to Woolworth by the bus. They took the bus to Hemming Park. And then we could go all these places if you had transportation like Sweet Pete's and the riverfront parks, So I think that's the key and wanted to hear what you guys thought.
Okay, thanks. Claudia, obviously Chicago has a far more robust transportation grid than we do. And that is a liability here in this auto-dependent city. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that the way that professionals that we're looking at this is actually to obviously increase access in terms of transportation, but also increase the means of access so that those that want to bike can bike, those that want to take the bus can take the bus, and obviously trying to share the resource of the street is actually going to her point about traffic, it would alleviate traffic. So we definitely having ways of doing that in a collective way can make movement faster. But also one of the discoveries of New York recently is also increasing those moments for actual recreation on the river and transportation. So now you have commuter ferries between the boroughs, and that has really minimized commute time for some people that live, on both sides of the river or work and live in both sides of the river. And really have been a very successful ferry system that has brought a lot of great commutes for people to move across the city.
With all of that said, Mari, how can the public be part of the DuPont Fund's community initiative on activating the riverfront?
So we would love to collect your email so that we can reach out to you for surveys and for public meetings, virtual for now, that we will be holding to get these views. I mean, this is amazing input. I am going to call up Nat Ford at JTA and tell him about the comments about transportation and Claudia's suggestions about waterway access and ferries. They're all so important to integrate into this design that I would love to ask you all to visit that website, give us your email so that we may be in touch with you.
Again, that's DuPontFund.org/waterfront. Thanks to you both, Mari Qureshi, president of the Jesse Ball DuPont Fund, and Claudia Harazme Alfonso. She's managing deputy commissioner at the Chicago Department of Planning and Development. Thanks so much, ladies.
Thank you. Great.
Thank you.
To be here.
And we have another website we want you to visit. We want you to join us virtually here at WJCT. on the evening of Tuesday, April 20th at 7 p.m. when our digital magazine Adapt hosts a panel discussion on the role that parks and green space play in the fight against climate change. Register for that at wjct.org/events. Much more still ahead. Later in the hour, a conversation with Diana Donovan, the city's new arts and culture chief. But up next.
April is National Donate Life Month. It's a month to celebrate those who have received transplants.
Why you should become an organ donor. We'll tell you how after this. Well, this month, April, is National Donate Life Month. And what that means is it's a time set aside to talk about the importance of organ donation and why you should make your intentions known that you want to be an organ donor. For more on this, I spoke with Dr. Juan Leone. He's a transplant cardiologist at Mayo Clinic. Dr. Leone, good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Melissa, and thanks for your invitation and your efforts to build a better community here in Jacksonville.
Well, thank you. We do work at that, and I know you do as well. So let's talk about April as National Donate Life Month. We're talking about organ donation. Let's explain what National Donate Life Month is all about. Could you?
Yes. So April is National Donate Life Month. It's a month to celebrate those who have received transplants, to recognize those who continue to wait for a transplant, to honor donors and donor families, and also to thank registered donors for giving hope.
Right. And so anyone can be an organ donor, right? The goal is to get more Americans to do it.
That's correct. It's a voluntary act to be an organ donor. People of all ages and medical history should consider themselves as potential deceased donors. Your medical condition at the time of death will determine what organs and tissues can be donated. But pretty much anybody can be a donor, and about 165 million people are currently registered as organ, eye, and tissue donors here in the U.S.
So that's about a third of Americans. These campaigns are designed to get more Americans to do it. How can people indicate they want to be an organ donor? For example, on my driver's license, it says organ donor, but I don't think that's official, is it?
It is. As long as in some way or fashion you have committed to be an organ donor, usually most commonly when people get their driver's license, then they can check a box if they want to be an organ donor. And that's, again, a voluntary act. You have to check in to be an organ donor. Other ways to do that is to register your decision to be a donor in registerme.org, or you can even visit donatelife.net, and you can look information about organ, eye, tissue, and living donations. And also expressing to to your family and friends, if something happens unexpectedly to you that you would like to be an organ donor. That's also a way to let people know.
Let people know. And so what do you call a living donor then? What is a living donor?
So living donors are actually people who, of course, are alive, are healthy, and they want to volunteer to be to donate an organ. Usually, of course, mostly kidneys. In some parts of the country, also liver. So that means that you could potentially help a friend, a family member, or even someone who you don't know to and donate one of your kidneys. As you know, we all are born with two kidneys, and if you decide to be a living organ donor, you could potentially donate one of your kidneys, and the other kidney will remain in your body, will increase in size, will do the work of two healthy kidneys. So that's you just because you donate a kidney doesn't mean that you're going to have a different quality of life in the long run. And same with pretty much liver. the remaining portion of the donor liver will regenerate and regain full function.
Interesting. Yeah. My mom donated a kidney to her sister many years ago because my aunt was diabetic and needed a kidney transplant. So we had a close family connection with this. So kidneys, livers, hearts, but there are other organs and tissues that doctors like you can really use to help patients as well, correct?
That's correct. I mean, for every donor, deceased donors, we can save many lives. There's 2 kidneys, 2 lungs, 1 heart, 1 liver, 1 pancreas, 1 intestine. Those can go to, again, 8 different donors. And you can also provide tissue donor for more than 75 people, as well as 2 corneas. So, by giving, being an organ donor, you can really help a lot of people.
Tell us how innovations in transplantation are working at Mayo Clinic and or in the pipeline. This is a really fascinating field of research.
Yeah, things have really evolved. I mean, we have been doing transplants for about 60 years. The first heart transplant was done in Cape Town in 1967 by Dr. Christian Bernard, and people forget that has been 50 years since that time. The first patient that had a heart transplant died after a couple of days, and that was a success at the time. Right now, the average lifespan for a patient with heart transplant is 13 years, but we have patients who have been 20 to 30 years even after their heart transplant, they're still doing well. So there's a lot of innovation that has occurred. We're lucky in Jacksonville that we have Mayo Clinic as a transplant center. And some of the innovations that we have, I think that have evolved in the past 10 years include, for example, extended donor criteria that we try to use more donors, including those who have hepatitis C. In the past, we couldn't use those donors because there was no curative treatment for hepatitis C. Now there is. So we have been using those donors, especially in the setting of our opioid crisis. That has provided many donors that unfortunately passed away, and we can still use those organs, which are usually healthy. Also, extended age criteria, donors above the age of 55, essentially for heart transplant. Many new technologies have evolved, like temporary mechanical circulatory support. These are machines that can support the recipient while waiting for a heart, and that has definitely helped to avoid patients dying while waiting. And there also has been some organ perfusion strategies being tried to keep these organs alive while being transported. Some of them include the donation after cardiac death, or DCD donors. You might have seen on the news about heart in a box. Pretty much the heart is placed in this kind of incubator and transported while the heart is beating, compared to putting the heart in a cooler on ice. And finally, some regenerative medicine, lung bioengineering, liver perfusion, stem cells, DNA editing. I mean, there's a lot of technology right here in Jackson.
Lots happening. What would you say to people who, for whatever reason, they just are uneasy about indicating they want to be an organ donor?
Well, first of all, that it's a voluntary act. It's it's a gift of life. I know there have been many campaigns about recycle your organs, recycle life. Travel likely to the next stage of life. And I think that those are just intended to really make sure that there's no fear in donating the organs. It's a voluntary act. It's an act of generosity. It's an altruistic act. And it's really the last will of someone who unfortunately loses his life, but he wants to give his organs to someone else. And if you talk to recipients of these organs, they're really happy and full of gratitude for those organs received by these heroes.
It is National Donate Life Month. Go to registerme.com or indicate on your driver's license you want to be an organ donor. Dr. Juan Leone, he's a transplant cardiologist at Mayo Clinic. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Melissa, and have a great day.
Let's head over to the UNF campus now, where the university is promoting getting more female students into STEM. That's science, technology, engineering, and math. UNF Center for the Advancement of Women in Engineering is collaborating with the Society of Women Engineers to host Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day. It's coming up Saturday on Zoom. Dr. Alexandra Schawning is UNF Mechanical Engineering Professor and with CAW, Center for the Advancement of Women in Engineering. And she's on the line. Dr. Schawning, good morning.
Good morning, Melissa. Thank you for having us on.
It's great to have you. Now, UNF has hosted this event for over a decade. This is for younger students, getting girls excited about engineering. This is fantastic. Tell us what's going to be happening.
All right. So we are, like I said, we've been doing this for many, many years. And this year is a little unique. We're going to do it virtually to make sure that everyone stays safe. We have our engineering students greatly involved with this. They are leading different workshops. There's going to be an electrical engineering type workshop where students will be building a circuit board and lightening a little LED. And then they will be working on a different project for a second workshop where they will be working on a marble run. So through these workshops, they're going to learn different engineering concepts like potential energy and kinetic energy and what voltage is and what current is. So they'll be exposed to a variety of topics. They'll be meeting with our students. There will be a little chat where they'll have a chance to talk with some of our alumni to learn what engineers do out in industry and what it's like going to engineering school. And we really, what we try to promote is that engineering is for everyone. It is, a discipline where we need more women. We need people of different, diverse backgrounds. So we want to make sure that that is clearly heard, that girls can go into engineering and you can go into engineering regardless of, skin color or whatever other background distinguishes you. So we welcome everyone.
Right. And as you mentioned, there is a real need to recruit girls because they are so underrepresented, girls and women, in getting into this field. Tell us more about the Center for the Advancement of Women in Engineering and its mission.
Yeah, so we have, as a nation, women are significantly underrepresented in engineering. About 14% of the engineering workforce are women. So that creates problems. It creates a problem because we don't have enough engineers, period. And then it also creates a problem because we don't have the diversity of thought. When you bring in people from different backgrounds, different ways of thinking, you can better define what the most important problems are and then develop the best competitive solutions. So by not including women to the extent that we could, we are really not staying at the cutting edge of engineering and really some of the other STEM fields as well. So at UNF, we're pushing hard to make a change. So the center was established to start recruiting, retaining, and advancing girls and women in engineering and focus on really bringing this demographic in. So we do a variety of things. We do outreach from all the way from elementary school up to high school. We do different activities. We work with our students on campus, and the primary one is the Society of Women Engineers, but we work with some of the other organizations too. And then we have lately also started working on faculty because we need to make sure that we are recruiting in a way that's equitable to everyone. So we're putting the focus from the early ages to the very late. So we are making sure that we are representing women at all the different stages of their career and finding ways for them to advance.
And let's talk about why these events are so important, getting girls in elementary school excited about this, because from the time they enter school, girls are continually sent subtle cues that math and engineering aren't for them. This is a way to counteract that. Yes?
Absolutely. Yeah, so it isn't 100% understood why more men or boys pursue engineering than women, but it is believed that there are some fundamental differences. And one is that these subtle cues that you're talking about are being sent. So we as a society raise our children differently, and we promote different things for our girls than we do for our boys. And one of the things comes out as a confidence gap. So girls don't perceive themselves as being as intelligent or as smart as the boys, and engineering is one of those disciplines where it's believed that you have to be really intelligent to succeed. And when you're lacking that confidence, that is one of the reasons it's believed that girls pursue other careers, whereas in fact, when you take IQ tests, we know that boys and girls are equally smart. The average of both are the same. The confidence gap is one of the reasons, and then people think it's a masculine profession, and it's not always well understood the kind of work that engineers do. that it's in a clean, safe environment. And then also another reason is that girls tend to pursue careers that have a strong connection to humanitarian, making society better. And so as engineers, we need to do a much, much better job promoting that what we're doing as engineers is really, that is it. We're trying to make the world better. So, some of the cues, we start sending our girls and boys early on. Some of it start even before they're born, and we talk to them differently. And, when you see a girl running around with a stroller, you might think like, oh, she's really into dolls and she enjoys that. And when you see the boy running around with a stroller, you see him as this, strong guy running crazy. And maybe they're having the same type of behavior, but you view it differently and you encourage different behaviors. So girls, we tend to encourage that sweet, obedient behavior, but whereas with boys, we see them as risk takers and explorers, even when maybe they're doing the same thing.
Yeah. So with all of that said, how can parents register their girl in 3rd to 5th grade for this event? And they get a kit too, right?
Yes, it is a free event. So they need to go to Eventbrite and they need to search for Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day. So when they do that search, our little event link comes up. They register there. And on that registration site, we provide information on where you can pick up the kits. So the kits are going to be available on the 7th and on the 9th. On the 7th, it's 1 till 3 o'clock, and on the 9th, 3 till 5:30 p.m. They come by UNF, they pick it up, and then those are free. The kits are free. The kids, and then let's see what else. And then there's some forms on the registration site that they need to fill out.
Check it out. Yeah.
Some release forms, and that's it.
All right. Check it out, everyone. It's Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day coming up this month virtually. It is sponsored by UNF. If you have a daughter that fits into this category, get on it. And thank you, Dr. Alexandra Schawning. She's a mechanical engineering professor at UNF and also with the Center for the Advancement of Women in Engineering. Have fun.
Thank you, Melissa.
Still to come, the city's new arts and culture director speaks out. We'll welcome her after this.
Many families are less financially secure in the pandemic, and that instability has long-term effects on toddlers and babies.
Irritability, not sleeping, regression. So this has really been a tough time for children and their families.
I'm Amy Scott. A look at the consequences of child poverty. Next time on Marketplace.
Tonight at 6, here on WJCT News 89.9.
The race is on to vaccinate everyone, everywhere against COVID-19. Of course, that's easier said than done. And as new variants emerge, scientists are thinking ahead.
It's pretty clear that a vaccine that needs to be given every year or every 3 years is not a viable solution for the world.
The quest for a universal coronavirus vaccine, that's on the world.
This afternoon at 3, here on WJCT News 89.9.
On the next Fresh Air, culture critic and poet Hanif Abdurraqib. His new book, A Little Devil in America, was described in Publishers Weekly as a luminous survey of how Black artists have shaped and been shaped by American culture. He's also the author of the essay collection, They Can't Kill Us Until They Kill Us. Join us.
Today at noon on WJCT News 89.9.
Are vaccine passports a good idea? Some are sounding the alarm.
This is literally the end of human liberty in the West.
Experts say we'll soon be able to download apps that will verify whether we've been vaccinated or recently tested negative for COVID-19. But where some see value and convenience, others see the hand of big tech and government. We'll discuss next time on 1A.
Today, starting at 10 on WJCT News 89.9.
Welcome back. Well, she's the new director of the Cultural Council of Greater Jacksonville. And Diana Donovan says she has big plans for the organization and its impact. I spoke with her. Let's listen to that conversation. Hey, Diana. Good to talk to you. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me today.
And congratulations. As the new head of the Cultural Council, you've got an important new role. Let's talk about the importance of the Cultural Council of Greater Jackson, what they do.
The Cultural Council in the 70s started as the arts agency and evolved in the 1990s to be the official regranting agency for arts and cultures for the city of Jacksonville. And then in 2006, it was designated as the official agency for the city's public art program. So we serve in three different areas. One is the cultural service grantees, organizations you may have heard of like the Comer or Florida Theater, Don't Miss a Beat, wonderful organizations who serve the city through an arts and culture service capacity. And then also the second pillar is through the public art sector. So we work in art and public places. And that's a really exciting program because we're able to partner with City Council and the Mayor's Office to serve the greater whole city of Jacksonville to bring public art to places. So we have an appointed committee there as well. And then general public art, which is where we're able to partner with organizations like JTA, where that board really helped pave the way for being able to help illuminate corporate's role and how to showcase public art on behalf of the community. And we're currently in a partnership with Florida Blue, which will be very exciting for the Brooklyn area. And third is for supporting the creative economy for our Northeast regional artists. So we provide critical opportunities to help ignite the creative economy. We can do commission opportunities ranging from $500 to $100,000. We have career elevating workshops that we do, working to connect them with clients and corporations to sell their work. And then we also have a current partnership called Art See and Shop, which is incredible, where we're able to do 65% of the proceeds back to local artists. That's currently taking place in the town center.
Yeah, that's a great venue. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's been wonderful. We're right across from Cooper's Hawk.
Okay, so that's one way the public can interact with the Cultural Council at the Markets at Town Center shop, but you have some interesting stuff planned for 2021, particularly as people start gathering again. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Our Art See and Shop started as an idea for the holidays, November and December, and was so successful that we were able to extend that partnership for an additional 3 months. And during its duration, we were able to highlight organizations like Rethreaded, Weave Tales, UNS LGBTQ, Sisters Incorporated came in and did an event called Start with the Arts. We were able to have Black artists talk about their journey in Jacksonville and what it means to be a person of color and be able to represent their perspective and background. We had Rodney Hurst come in, who's a wonderful man and civil rights activist, and we were also able to partner with the First Coast Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So as we move forward, we're looking to highlight this space to ignite creative economy opportunities for our artists, given that 65% back to them, but then also be able to use it as a showcasing place and platform for multiple organizations that are reflective of the community as a whole, and being able to have thoughtful conversations that help highlight the unique talent that we have locally, but also ignite conversations around national perspective to where the arts and culture community can really help elevate the conversation and elevate the empathy and connectivity that we would need in the year that has passed and the years moving forward.
Okay, and let's take a minute, too, to just talk about how art and culture is good business. For every dollar the city spends on these kinds of initiatives, they get a lot in return.
Absolutely. I think one of the most interesting things happening now to Jacksonville as a city is that people are literally leaving where they're at to relocate to Jacksonville. And when they come here, the number one thing they're looking for is quality of life as far as how they interact with the city and how this becomes their home. And that goes back to our arts and culture organizations. And COVID has hit hard a lot of our arts and cultural organizations, primarily because a lot of their primary sources of revenue are large, Save Our Stages is a great example. Florida Theater being able to have people in seats paying for ticket sales, but, wanting to make sure that the public was safe and doing it safely and, maintaining CDC regulations and all of the things that come with the pandemic that we're still, going through. It's been an important item to recognize that as people come in to Jacksonville from a tourism aspect, that there's opportunity from a Visit Jacksonville partnership and a downtown. How are we bringing people downtown to celebrate large events safely and to be able to partner like in a Jacks River Jam? How are we creating galleries and spaces for our local artists? How are we igniting public art to where it helps become a focal and a showpiece where people come to Jacksonville to tour our local art, and that we're collaborating well with all of the other art institutions doing this in a very positive and deeply impactful way. So the economy portion and how we budget, right? Where we put our money is where we put our values. And so, having the city invest in the arts has never been more important, and we're so grateful for their partnership.
Well, congratulations, and we'll be hearing more from you. Thank you so much. She's Diana Donovan, the new head executive director of the Cultural Council of Greater Jacksonville. Congrats, Diana.
Thank you, Melissa.
And that's our show. Thanks for listening. Thanks to all of our guests and callers, along with producer Heather Schatz, director Brady Coram, driving today. Thanks, Brady. Our news director is Jessica Palumbo, and Bill Bortsfield is our digital editor. Keep those emails coming. Send them to firstcoastconnect@wjct.org. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch our podcast up later today wherever you like to listen. You can also listen by downloading the WJCT app. I'm Melissa Ross. This is First Coast Connect on WJCT News 89.9 Jacksonville. We'll be right back here again at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Have a great day.
Support for First Coast Connect is provided by Baptist Health and the North Florida TPO.
Baptist Health